showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Welcome to episode 255 of I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield.
And I'm Krissie Shelley.
We got a great episode for you this week. On today's episode, we talk with Adrian and Rachel Prazen with House of Tenebris Jewelry. You actually set this interview up, didn't you, Krissie?
I did. I ran across someone who was wearing their jewelry and I fell in love with it and then found out that they were local. So I had to get to know who they were.
So you're like, Chris, we need to bring these folks on the podcast, find out their story, share it with the rest of Salt Lake City. It was a hell of a story.
It was. I really like it. I like interviewing couples who do things together.
And it was fascinating to see how it kind of brought them together a little bit.
Yeah.
And then some of the struggles that they went through.
Yes.
And just kind of the different, I think really any business person can learn a lot from this conversation that we had with them. Just even if you don't do anything with jewelry.
Yeah.
It's like we all have a lot of the same obstacles.
Yeah.
And you realize you're not alone with your journey.
No matter what you're doing, we have the same trials and
Exactly.
struggles. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, I enjoyed talking with them. So thank you so much, Krissie, for setting this interview up.
And I got to nerd out with them a little bit.
You did. And I hope to, I say this with every person that we bring on the show. I always would love to bring them back.
Yeah.
Talk more. You were wanting to talk even more with like mythology.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. During our break, we geeked out a little bit more. It was so I could talk about that for an hour.
Why didn't we talk about that on the podcast? And you're like, well, I don't know if we should or not.
I don't want to bore people.
No,
but
man, that's what they're what they're here for. So
yeah, that's true.
We've had a great week, though. I want to talk about a few things before we get into this episode. So, a lot of people have been following this podcast really the entirety since episode 1. They've seen me, go through divorce. They've seen me go through changes. They've seen different co-hosts on the podcast. They've seen you come onto the podcast, Krissie. And I don't know. I'm sure listeners know by now that we're dating.
Yeah.
And
hopefully,
well, and if they don't, not the end of the world. You always wonder, well, how much personal stuff should you share on a podcast?
Right.
But, unfortunately, this is our story. This is our journey. So today, I'm going to share it on the podcast. I asked Krissie to make an honest guy of myself, and we got engaged. And, it was kind of one of those spur of the moment things. We've been talking about it for a while, and I knew I was going to do it, but I didn't know I was going to do it today. But the moment felt right. I knew I surprised you. And
you did.
I just wanted to share that with the listeners because I'm pretty stoked on it.
Oh, I'm going to cry again.
No,
I think I spent an hour crying earlier.
But, and I wanted to share that with the listeners. I know a lot of people follow us both on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so they probably already know the news.
Yeah.
But, just kind of follow and continue our journey.
We're going to have some fun still. We have a lot of fun to have.
But anyway, this episode is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. Get a haircut, a beard trim, or a straight razor shave. Right now they have 2 locations. One of them is right downtown at 212 South, 700 East. And in Sugar House, 2153 East, 2100 South. They're open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. Head on over to jedsbarbershop.com for more information. Also this past week, this has been a heck of a week, Krissie.
It's been a busy week.
So speaking of barbershops with Jed's Barbershop and all that, I don't think I've shared with the listeners how I'm interested in going to barber school.
Yes.
Barber Chris? I don't know. That sounds kind of dumb.
We need a nickname.
We need a nickname for myself. So I'm interested. I've been tossing this around in my head, and I'm not going to lie. So when I had Drew, was it
Drew Danbury.
Drew Danbury.
Yeah.
My mind went blank. Thank you, Krissie.
No problem.
Drew Danbury and John Ross Boyce, the last time they were on the podcast, we started talking barbering. I know we were talking about it on the podcast. And I'm not going to lie. The thought crossed my head. I love going into these old-fashioned barber shops.
Yeah.
I love getting my hair cut.
Well, I've noticed a twinkle in your eye over this past year every time you talk about going to a barbershop.
Absolutely. And I love getting my hair cut.
You do?
I love getting a beard trim. And so, I've been tossing the idea around of going to barber school.
Yeah.
I know it's probably caught a lot of people off guard. But anyway, this last week, I had Tuesday off. It was my official birthday. And I was like, let's go to visit the barber school. It's right there on 7200 South, right in Salt Lake, and talk to them a little bit, find out about it. And it's a really doable program.
Oh, yeah.
But the catch is the funding.
Yes.
And so
that's the problem with life, right?
it really is. You know what I mean? It's hard to kind of get that break in life a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I've applied for some different funding. Should hopefully find out this upcoming week if we get that or not.
Yes.
And then hopefully if that all goes through, I'm going to talk like it's going to go through. I could start barber school here in January, which is kind of crazy to think about it.
Yeah, I think it's so exciting. I'm holding my breath.
And I don't know. I would love to go full time. Might just do part time, but I'm excited. Maybe get on board with one of the local barbershops. Maybe even Jed's barbershop. You never know.
Maybe he'll let you in.
Maybe he'll let me in. Well, they do a great haircut over there.
They do.
And beard trims and whatnot. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Oleo Skin and Beard, got to talk about these guys. We love them.
Oh man, we love them.
They're out at. They are at pretty much every holiday market.
They are hard workers. They're everywhere.
Going on right now up until Christmas.
And
we just visited them yesterday, actually, at the Trolley Squares doing a local market. I think they're doing the local market. It's going to be this upcoming weekend as well. I believe Friday and Saturday they're going to be there.
At the Trolley Square?
But I was running out of the beard balm.
Yeah.
So I had to go pick up some beard balm from them.
And I just went and started gushing about they're making soaps now. And, oh my gosh, their soap is so great.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't think about it. You wouldn't think, is there something better out there? But
I'm not like a soap person. That's the thing.
You're a soap snob.
I'm a soap snob. I don't really care about soap. You know what I mean? But man, they make this coffee soap.
Yeah, and it will just, it exfoliates your skin.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it really does a hell of a job.
It's so
cleaning
amazing.
You up.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I took 2 showers in one day just to use it again.
But go to oleoskin.com, check out their website, find out more about their products, find out where they're going to be at, connect with them on Facebook. I know I share a lot of their posts on the I Am Salt Lake page on Facebook, so make sure to connect with them.
Absolutely.
And buy some of their products. Let them know you heard about them on I Am Salt Lake.
Yes.
And give Derek a high five and Jen a hug, right?
Yeah, Jen likes hugs.
Is that the rules? All right. Enough chitter chatter right now. We're going to talk after. We're going to jump into the interview we had with Adrian and Rachel right now. But afterwards, we got a slew of iTunes reviews.
Thanks, everybody.
We have a letter from a listener. We got some other stuff we're going to chat about after this interview with Adrian and Rachel. But for now, let's find out about the House of Tenebris. Stay tuned. Where are you from? Like, where do both of you call home?
Well, right now, Salt Lake.
And I'm from Salt Lake originally, so I've been here my whole life.
Your whole life, grew up here, and did you ever move away at all? Or
we moved to Nevada for a few years to work with my parents, but other than that,
just always Salt Lake.
Just always Salt Lake.
And I am originally from Florida.
From sunny Florida.
How did you like it
I
out
mean,
here?
scary Florida.
Florida is crazy, actually.
It's a little crazy, yeah. Yeah.
What brought you to Utah?
My dad's work. So I think I was 13.
Oh, okay.
So I've been here the majority of my life.
Yeah, so enough to call Salt Lake
But
City
I've been
home.
in and out too. So I've lived in Illinois for a while. I've lived in North Carolina, Nevada.
After all those places, what did you think coming back? Like,
I love
happy
Utah.
to be back in Salt Lake. It's a great place.
It is. It is. We talk about leaving. We do. And
I think everybody talks.
yeah, that's true.
You're just like, I got to get out of here.
Everybody's like, it's small Lake City.
Well, it's small.
You just you want to go explore sometimes.
Yeah. And I think eventually we will leave. I know that at some point we're going to have to leave in order for what we want to do to be as big as we want it to be.
Why do you feel like you have to
I
leave?
don't think we have the reach that we want here.
Is that for the jewelry business? And you think online doesn't provide enough of a...
I don't know. Maybe it would if I knew what I was doing.
And there's also a stigma in the rest of the country about Salt Lake, and
There is. And that's
Do you
kind of
think-
what we're trying to
Do you
bust
think
down.
that stigma, though, is kind of leaving a little bit, though? I think it's kind of,
Yeah.
finally getting chopped, I guess you'd say.
I think it's leaving in people from Salt Lake's minds. I don't know that it is
In other people's.
in other people's minds. I think there's still a stigma of if you're from Salt Lake, you're a Mormon.
Yeah. That is true.
So do you think, like, okay, so you sell jewelry. Do you think, like, people see maybe, and I'm just curious more than anything, obviously, with this question is so they're, they're scrolling through online and they're like, oh, these people are from Salt Lake. Do you think that really might be a hindrance?
No.
No. Well, that's what I was curious of it.
No.
Because you were saying Salt Lake has a stigma, so I was just wondering how that would cause a, I don't know. I
People
don't
are
know.
like,
I don't
I'm
know.
not buying from Salt Lake
Maybe
City.
it's just in my
I don't
own
know.
head.
We just go
No.
back and forth so much. It's that.
It's-
You
well,
know
it's
what? You
true.
said it. It's
Yeah.
true. We say
Yeah.
we want to leave,
Yeah.
but then we're going to want to come back.
Where would
Yeah.
you like to go? Where do you think you would like to go?
I'd like to live in Norway, but that's just me.
That's a good call. I like that.
He does not agree with me. No, we look at Northern California a lot.
Northern California, Oregon.
Yeah.
So where did the two of you meet at? What's that story? Is that maybe in a nutshell? I don't know. Is it?
We were very young. So 18 and 19. Were you 19?
I was
almost
19.
Almost 20. And we actually met outside of the pie up by the
Really?
Yeah.
That is so
Oddly, yeah.
awesome.
There was a fight broke out and we were both coming up the stairs. I think you were walking behind my sister and I and a friend, and a fight broke out and we couldn't leave. We had to kind of hang because this huge fight broke out and cops were coming, and he was hitting on my sister who happened to be like 16.
Whoops.
Wow.
That's what happened. She doesn't look 16.
Yeah. It's all relative around that age.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
She was much taller.
Totally is.
She's much taller than I.
Yeah, I thought you were 12. So.
Yeah.
And then you guys happened to get married. Did you start doing projects like this together before you got married?
No.
It wasn't like a passion
No.
that brought you together?
No. This is a very new thing. So
Well, how new?
maybe 6 years, 7 years.
So I mean, that's not that new though. Really?
Kinda. And we've been together 23.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow! There you go.
You don't look old enough to have been together, neither of you,
We
for
haven't
23
we haven't-
years.
Now going to be 18-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Does the 18-year-old help around the house?
Hell no.
Does 18-year-old make jewelry with you?
No.
Any interest?
No. However, I see in her future something. Yes.
Like you can tell she has the talent and the
Yes.
ability.
Yes. She'll do something.
Yeah.
She'll do something. Yeah.
Is she? Do you think she actively fights against it because that's what you guys do? Like you create your
Yeah.
artists, and she wants to
Well,
be different.
Yeah. And I think she just doesn't really like to spend that much time with us.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense too. Parents aren't cool.
And yet we are.
I think we're cool.
I think she wants us to get real jobs.
Oh,
Oh, well, there's
that's
that
lame.
too.
Lame. Tell her to get her own real job. You guys are doing great. Because if people need to go check out your website, it's House of Tenebris, right?
Yes.
.com.
Yep.
Gorgeous. You make jewelry out of brass and bronze
And copper.
Copper.
and
mainly.
copper. That's what it is. Brass and copper.
So talk about that. I mean, you said 6-7 years that you've been doing this. How did it start?
Do you want to take that?
Yeah. So I come from a family of metalworkers. So I grew up doing metalwork, and I worked as a product development guy for a lighting company forever. And when I quit there, we were kind of going through a rough time, and we broke up for a while. And when we got back together, she wanted to quit her job, and I was burned out on the furniture industry, and we just needed something new to do to kind of get us back into it together. So we started doing this. I started playing around with it. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. I was like, this is terrible. all this stuff.
Some of the first creations that you made.
I was used to building bigger stuff, and trying to do this really small stuff was really difficult for me. So I made one ring and I brought it home and I was like, this is terrible. She was like, I love it. Let's do this.
He hated it. He thought it was the most horrible ring ever. And to this day, it's my most favorite ring. I was like, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. And I don't know. It's funny because I've been thinking about this. I don't know why we started etching things. I think Adrian's very good at playing and discovering and figuring out and engineering, and he's so curious, and he'll see something and he's like, I'm going to do that, but he's always going to do it better, and he always does. It's kills me daily. And I think he just decided to etch, and he was like, I think I'm going to try this, and I was like, that's kind of awesome. And he did a few designs and they were great, and we weren't really working together. I mean, I think more than anything I was encouraging him, and in my head the whole time I'm like, but I really have all these great ideas, but I don't know that he's really open to my ideas. Because, like, he's the artist. He's always been the artist, and I have not. I was a merchandiser for a retail company for a decade. But still creating, right?
Yeah. And you obviously have a good sense, like good taste if you're
I thought so.
merchandising.
Or I think so. And I was like, no, but let's do this. And we did a craft lake under his name. He had a different branding and it was under his name. And I just helped out and it was great and we loved it. And like he said, at some point I was miserable. It was beyond miserable at my job. I needed out. I just needed the fuck out so bad.
What did you do, if you don't mind me asking?
It was a visual merchandiser.
Okay, yeah.
So you set up displays and everything? That is so fun.
Windows.
That's probably horrible. I should.
No, it was great. No, it was fantastic. And I still love it.
Yeah.
It was the company. I was just done.
Oh, yeah.
And there was no movement for me at that point. So I was like, and we have to stay in Salt Lake because his other business does so well here. He's a metal fabricator, so he also builds furniture.
Oh, nice.
Are you still building?
I still do.
Still do.
And that's what pays the bills.
Okay.
Jewelry helps, but that's how we make a living.
But eventually you would like the jewelry.
We would like the jewelry to be the main focus.
Yes.
So at what point did you start actually selling the jewelry then? Like what was you said you sold
Craft
it
Lake?
under his name,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. And then
when did you kind of come up with the name and kind of start?
when I said I was quitting my job. I said, I'm quitting. I have to do this. I'm cashing out my 401k and I can't, we have to take a chance. I mean, we were almost 40 or I was almost 40. We were in our, late 30s and
You just needed to take a leap
you have
sometime.
to take chances.
You do.
And
You don't want to, be
stagnant.
almost on your deathbed and say,
Going,
gosh,
I didn't do these things.
why didn't I do it?
Yeah.
I'm struggling with that today. Even I hate my job, my day job.
Well, I just got a new day job.
Oh. Sometimes that happens too.
I might be looking for one soon.
A new day job.
It's so hard, like the to really make a living with art. It's such
very
a challenging thing.
It is, yeah.
And it is tough too, because Chris and I have talked about this, how big companies like, I don't know, this is like way out of left field, but big companies like Walmart and Target will actually see people like you who are doing original work
And they
yeah.
steal it.
and totally rip it off and sell it for, $10.
Target and Walmart, it's Urban Outfitters and
Oh,
Forever
Urban
21 and
Everybody.
It's those companies. Yeah.
Which is incredibly frustrating, but you can't get the quality that you would get
No.
with what you guys actually
And
create.
we haven't seen anyone copy us. And people do what we do. They etch, and they do their own thing, and we do our own thing. And not that many people do it, from what I can tell.
It's a pretty difficult process.
It's a
Really?
process, and it's messy and it's dirty.
Yeah.
So how would you describe it for people listening right now that are listening to the podcast? Maybe they've never seen your jewelry, and I'll try to put some pictures up at iamsaltlake.com with this, and also link your Facebook and all of that. But say they're driving in a car, they want to vision. How would you describe your jewelry a little bit? What's the best way to?
It's your jewelry.
Because it's different. it's different. It's different than
It is.
Yeah,
It's large.
It's very unique.
It's
It's
unique.
very big. We like bigger stuff.
We do. We like statements.
Yeah. We use a lot of esoteric symbolism.
We're both very into sacred geometry.
I actually wanted to ask you guys about that. I actually have it on my list. I was gonna say, like, your jewelry feels like it comes from a very spiritual or mystical place. You know, it feels like it has meaning.
It does.
Yeah.
Which I really is so cool. Especially people like me, if you like that kind of stuff, you got to see this jewelry. It's gorgeous, and you even have some descriptions. Like, I was reading about the amethyst ring. Mm-hmm. Is that the one where you had like the Greek story?
Yes.
Of the god spilling the blood on the amethyst.
And I look all that stuff up too.
But it's so fun. Like, it was a learning experience.
Well, it gives people connections.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can connect to it and it has meaning. And I always say this, ultimately, I think we're all looking for God. Mm-hmm. Even when you tell me you're an atheist and you don't believe in God, ultimately we're all searching, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
How are you not?
Everyone has to believe in like something greater than themselves.
Well, you're wondering, you're kind of always searching for the truth. You know, what is the truth?
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's there, maybe it's out there, maybe, you know, you got to have your eyes open and your ears ready to listen.
And symbolisms are important to people.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it is.
Even if it just sparks their want to read about something or learn something new, or
they had no idea that an amethyst supposedly did this thing, or whatever the tree of life is. A lot of people don't know all of those things, and a lot of people do.
Sure.
So it's, I don't know. We've always been a little darker, I guess.
So where do you find inspiration then
Everywhere.
for your jewelry?
Everywhere. I love myth. Myth.
Yeah. I like old grimoires and stuff.
We like stuff. We like everything. We're very curious.
Well, what is everything? I mean,
everything. Things I don't even know exist yet.
like do you find
very curious people?
Movies, books, music?
Probably a lot of myth, a lot of sacred geometry, a lot of esoteric. Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology in general. I think really it's symbols. There's symbols for everything. There's symbols in every culture for everything. And some are amazing, some not so much.
Have you ever listened to the podcast called Spirits?
No, but now I'm going to.
Oh my gosh.
You just called it
it's these two girls. One of them actually went to school for like theology and mythology and stuff like that. And the other one's just a geek like me. And they just sit and have a drink and they talk about one piece of mythology in great detail.
Oh, which is awesome.
Like every episode. It's so fascinating. Yeah. It's really good.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we're constantly reading something or listening to different podcasts. Adrian is so into, what would you say? What would you call it?
Right now?
Anything.
I don't know. I like history a lot.
What kind of like history?
Religious history.
Religious history.
He likes conspiracies.
Political history. Conspiracy theory stuff.
Very
I love
conspiracy theory.
Not that I'm like believing it, but from a cultural aspect, I really like where things came from. Like what made this group of people start thinking this was real and this was real and that was real. And I grew up reading like Anthony Wilson stuff and how he would take real things and mix them with fiction and tie them up into these knots of just mind-boggling realism that was partially fictional. Like, I really like that stuff. I like to have my head twisted up.
You think from a different angle.
Yeah.
It forces you to really look at everything, which is probably where you get a lot of your creative inspiration from, the fact that you guys get out there and learn so much.
Yeah.
And then
definitely.
spin it, turn it into some beautiful jewelry.
So where can people buy jewelry here locally in Salt Lake? Do you have them in any shops?
We do have stuff in Enzo Piercing.
Okay.
They always carry a little bit. And there's a cute little boutique on Broadway called You Went to Standard, and she's carrying some stuff right now.
And I'll try to get those addresses and links up at iamsaltlake.com with this episode as well. And then, so just those two.
For now, yeah.
For now.
That's it.
You're kind of probably constantly working at getting stuff in shops, or what's that like? What's the process like for that to get in
That's
the shop?
something we need to be better about. That's something we need to try and push. But the problem is that most small shops or shops in general want to consign.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have everything out on consignment. So we would prefer wholesale. Wholesale is what we want to push. And that's our goal this year. So wholesale is when they buy out from us, they get a deal on it. Mm-hmm. And then they own it, but they sell it, and then they get to make their money off of it.
Yeah.
What's been like the most challenging thing with all of this, or a few challenging things?
Paying our rent.
Paying your rent.
Oh, in general, working together.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's made it a little like it's made your relationship better though in the grand scheme of things?
Did you just made a face? Yes, it has.
No, I mean, because I'm sure
Overall, yes. On a day-to-day basis, no.
No.
Because I'm sure there's people listening, right? That might, they're a couple, they're a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. And it's like, you wonder, can I work with my significant other?
I think you just have to know each other, and you have to know. I don't know. That's so hard. I'm a very patient person, thank God.
I'm not.
And I get him. I understand him. I mean, we have 23 years.
Yeah.
And we had a horrible breakup at one point. We've been through a lot. I mean, we're realistic, I think, for the most part, about each other. Like, he knows my faults. He may not love them, and sometimes he's not very nice about them. But in general, you know what I mean? And I know his. And so,
Yeah.
It's
kind of like, I like how you say you guys are realistic. Like, you understand. I think that's probably the trick to working as a couple. Like, you know each other's faults, you work with each other's faults, but you also love the positive aspects of each other.
Do you think either one of you could make jewelry with somebody else, though? Do you think it would be the same? Does that, I mean, I don't know. If
with
that question-
another person?
Well,
I don't think it would be the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious too. Say, like with the style and the type that you're making, if you were to, like, say, partner with a good friend or something like that,
I think there would still be a root of it, but it would obviously take on the other person's
style. Sure.
It would grow for sure. And we had thought about that at one point, bringing in other
people,
other artists,
yeah,
just to kind of help grow that as a collective.
And that was one of the main reasons we called it House of. We really did think of it as a community. We want, and ultimately maybe it still will be. I don't know.
So much possibilities. Let's take a quick break. We have a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll come back. I have some more questions. I'm sure Krissie does as well.
Yes.
So hang tight, and we'll be back and chat with you too just a second. We're just going to take a quick minute for a message from our sponsor, Jed's Barbershop. They are a great local company right here in Salt Lake City. They send their employees to other countries to do service work. They support and contribute to animal rescues. They've helped people in other countries open up 60 salons or barbershops. Right now, they're hiring for a brand new location. I heard it's actually going to be opening up hopefully in January here, right on 900 South. They're looking for barbers. So if you're a barber out there, send your resume over to Jed at jedsbarbershop.com. Let him know you heard about him on I Am Salt Lake podcast, and get yourself a really rad job. We were talking about like the challenging things with making jewelry. What's been one or two rewarding things? Has there been anything rewarding, or kind of that moment that you're like, okay, this is cool. I'm glad I'm doing this. Maybe somebody you've met or something that's happened.
Yeah, I think that comes when we do shows and people are really into what we're doing, and you can tell that they're not just buying it because their friend bought it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They really like what we're doing, and that there's a lot of reward in that.
When the really nerdy guy and his friends, and this has happened a few times, will come into our booth and they know the symbols and they get them and they're excited about it and they want to have these conversations about it. And the look on their, or like, they're usually young, like little, we have had little kids, like 8-year-old boys buy our cuffs
wow.
One little 8-year-old boy had his mom buy a cuff for him for, I don't remember why. He had some money or something. And
It was his birthday.
maybe it was birthday money or something. And she was like, "You're sure?" And it was just the look on his face. Like it was the greatest thing he'd ever seen. That's when you're excited.
Yeah.
That's when you go,
Because
okay.
you know he's going to always have that as a childhood
Always.
memory and something that really was important to him.
And we've talked about before how ultimately, and I don't know if this is probably a little ego driven, but whatever.
Let's hear it.
Ultimately, you want it to last, right? Like I think about 100 years from now or 500 years from now, and someone digs up a piece.
Of your jewelry, yeah.
And then they have to like carbon date it and see
like
where it came
think
from.
about it. That's fucking awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean that alone, that thought process, very rewarding. Have you had to deal with anybody like? I mean, granted, we don't want to think about this kind of stuff, but they come into your booth and they kind of start talking shit
all the
on your
time.
products.
Yeah.
Really.
People do that to your faces at your booth.
Maybe go. No, actually, yeah, we've had them say to our face. It's just copper. Why is it so expensive? Well,
Okay, first of all,
why don't you do it and then you tell me how that goes?
copper is really
What do,
expensive
what do
right
you
now.
say to them? I mean,
More than it used to be, for
well,
sure.
not even that, but I mean, this is a locally made piece of art.
You know, we're both again, I'm really patient and I have worked retail for so long and had people be nasty that I just smile and go, whatever.
You've learned to not attach it to your self-worth. Like,
yeah,
you don't
and that's
take
it.
personally.
So that's the thing. I think that was one of the biggest things I learned being a visual merchandiser for retail company is you can't take things personally. Everyone has a
But we
different
still
opinion.
do, though. I mean, that's the thing.
I'm pretty good about not.
Really.
Yeah. Other than our relationship, I can take some things personally. When it comes to this stuff, no, I don't. I just go, they don't like it. That's fine.
That's an important
It's not
skill.
your thing.
It's not your thing.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with that. I mean, of course, for a moment, you're like, oh, you're such a dick. But
Yeah.
whatever. Whatever.
Who actually
I've never had
says
anybody
that?
say anything negative to my
And then
face.
they leave for 15 minutes, and then they come back, and they're okay. I'll buy that, right?
Well, no, I know. No, I mean, I really have had someone actually say, but it's just copper. Like a guy. Or I always love but I could make that. And I'm all, okay,
You
go ahead.
should.
You should.
then go, man.
Oh, that's always the most fun. What do you have you had any pet peeves getting into the jewelry side of things?
No, not really.
You just
Pretty
enjoy
much-
it all the
yeah,
time.
I pretty much enjoy it all the time.
Dang,
There's some
that's
days
awesome.
where I can't do it.
So
Like,
so where
my
do you
brain
find
just shuts down.
creativity then when you're where do you find that like
I don't know. At like 2:00 in the morning.
you're soaking in the bathtub, you got some
Exactly.
Kenny G playing and
No, probably not.
Probably not Kenny G.
maybe some Pelican or something. But
Sometimes you can force it. We don't force it a lot.
I don't do well forcing it. Sometimes it comes when I'm hyper stressed, or it can come when I'm totally relaxed. It doesn't really. I can't force it though.
It just strikes
Like-
when it strikes.
Inspiration, yeah,
Yeah.
it strikes me. But we've been known to say, hey, let's sit down. Let's do this tonight. Let's sit down with some books. Let's sit down with our laptops, put some music on, maybe imbibe in some things, and see where we go.
Yeah.
And I keep a notebook too. A lot of times it comes just when I'm working, and I don't have time to just stop and try out this new thing, and I'll just write it down in a notebook, and maybe one or two of those things out of 100 will
We'll make it to
make it
fruition.
into something. Yeah.
And I'm very visual, so I spend a ton of time looking at Instagram's been
Amazing.
the greatest thing ever because you access so much, right?
Yeah.
But just in general, just looking at just pictures or whatever it is, I find it in everything, in fashion, in architecture, in other jewelers who don't do what we do, but I might like something that they do, and I think to myself, how can I make that? What is it that I like about that, and how can I make that work with what we do and how we do it and have it translate?
sure.
So
That's really cool and that's what I love about art is when you're inspired by a piece, but you can actually make it your own.
Make it your own. I don't
put
want to
your own
copy it.
vision onto it.
I
It
don't want
drives
to
me
copy.
insane to see people copy other people's stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
somebody already did that exactly like that.
Yeah, and we will not do that. That's not going to happen. But I'm inspired by other people all of the time.
Me
Yeah.
too.
All of the time. People do amazing things.
They do. It
If you could go
Blows
back,
me away.
if you could go back and start all of this over, what would you do different?
Nothing. Because then I wouldn't be where I am.
What about you, Adrian?
I probably would have developed a bigger body of work before I started releasing stuff. Instead of constantly trying to keep up with new things.
But then what fun would that be? We wouldn't be...
Yeah, it may take the stress out of it.
and the stress makes it fun.
Well, what about like a like a business tip or anything in that related, or is there something you would have done differently there?
Well, see, now you're going to push me. Okay, yes, of course. Well, of course. Maybe we would have, I don't know, maybe we would figure out how to run an online business better.
Sure.
Figure out how wholesale works in a better way, how to reach out to people, yeah, of course we've learned things over the years. Oh, wait, that's how you take a good picture. You know what I mean? Of course. How wonderful would it have been to have had all of that ready to go. But I don't think that's realistic.
For sure.
So I don't want to look back and say, what would I do differently?
Yeah.
Because we're always where we are because that's where we are. And it's because of all those things that we did or didn't do.
Sure.
And we wouldn't be here right now if we didn't do them exactly the way that we did them.
Yeah.
So
You make a
True.
No, I mean you make a valid point.
I regret nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
absolutely.
Nothing at all.
I mean, everything is what gets you to where. Other hobbies and interests besides jewelry making. Do you have any other hobbies and interests? Things that you do when you're not?
I love my dog.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a red healer.
I don't even know what kind of dog that
So he's
is.
an Australian cattle dog.
it's a very hyper one.
I'm obsessed.
Oh, okay. Lots of energy.
He has lots of energy.
I love him. I love him.
He's a great dog.
He's a fantastic dog. And
So jewelry, playing with the dog.
yeah, I love my dog.
What-
I'm outside a lot. I do a lot of hiking with my girlfriends.
okay, now we're talking.
Okay, so you didn't like my dog comment?
No, I love. I love the dog.
I hike a lot. Yes, I have a group of girlfriends, and we try to, throughout the spring and summer and into the fall, do activities, and they're always outdoor activities.
Pretty outdoorsy person.
I am. I love it. I never was in the past. This is a very new, I think, in my 40s
Really?
thing. Yeah.
Wow. What that.
So it's an awakening, right?
We might
Like-
still get to turn outdoorsy.
You
maybe?
might. You might not.
I don't know.
He's not. He doesn't go hiking with me at all. I like I've had this newfound need to accomplish things to get to that peak or whatever it is, to push myself physically where I haven't been physical for a really long time. I grew up as a dancer and I gave that up. And I stopped doing that.
What kind of dance?
I did ballet and modern.
Really? Why'd you stop?
I met him.
Adrian.
Sorry.
Way to go.
Well, I met, I became an adult. He was an adult. And
Yeah.
we did adult things.
I was not an adult.
Which were not adult things. We drank a lot. We
Well, it's
played.
legally an adult thing.
But you know what I'm saying. Yeah, just
Yeah.
the world changed.
Sure.
It wasn't as important.
So now you're trying to get back out there, get active.
Yeah.
What about you, Adrian? Any other hobbies and interests besides working with copper and making jewelry? Well, you said you're a metal fabricator. What kind of?
Metal fabrication.
Okay, that's what you.
So I guess my hobby is just learning how to do things, new things, better things with what I already do. I really like to mess around with really old ways of doing things that are not
kind of not standard in today's.
That people don't do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things that people did 100 years ago that you wouldn't do now, like blacksmithing. I really enjoy that stuff, but there's no market for it. So my hobby is keeping myself tuned into how things were done before all of this stuff.
Relearning original techniques to things.
Right.
Do you find that it's been helpful at all in moving forward with any projects that you do? Having an understanding of things like blacksmithing?
Yeah, I draw on it a lot. So I might use those processes every once in a while, but knowing those processes helps me use new technologies it gives me a different insight to new technology.
Yeah.
Does that
like
make sense?
Yeah, like you can kind of take new technology and new things that are possible and adapt them a specific way because you have knowledge of the original stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that's so great. Not many people do that. That'd be like a graphic designer learning a real letterpress.
Exactly.
Like setting letters. That's awesome.
Or hand cutting a tile or yeah.
I couldn't even imagine.
I feel intimidated. These are smart people.
Yeah, I'm just.
Adrian's smart.
I'm just like over here, just like, oh, geez.
About building things.
About his things. But
Have you always been that way, even small child, or no?
Yeah, always super curious.
Wow.
And growing up in a metalworking family, I got to see those things when I was really young. So,
did your dad like take you out and as a little kid show you how stuff worked?
yes.
Did you actually make things when you were little?
Yeah, I did. He pretty much gave me free reign. Like I'd go down to the shop with him on the weekend and it'd be like, make something.
That's
And I'd be like,
so
how?
cool.
And he'd be like, figure it out. So,
Oh man.
and then I'd just watch him and try to emulate what he was doing. And yeah, I think I just,
And this was your father?
yeah.
So remind me, what was he? He was a metal fabricator as well? or-
Yes, he was a metal fabricator and a sculptor.
Oh, wow. So you...
Really runs in the family.
Yeah, runs in the family.
it does. The uncles, his brothers,
Really?
his grandfather, great grandfather.
Yep.
If both of you could learn one random skill, what would you like to learn? What would you learn? A little bit about, outside the jewelry, I'm learning a little bit about the both of you right now. Like we had somebody on the show.
I have like a list
maybe
of things.
we had somebody on the show. They wanted to learn to be a ventriloquist or ride a unicycle or learn Spanish.
I always wanted to do taxidermy.
Really.
And then I cut into some deer antlers and they smelled so bad that I changed my mind.
He was like, I just can't.
I went, oh no.
It looks fun.
But it's still there. There's still a curious.
The deer antlers are still there.
Well, no, the want to like.
They're
that
still in the garage, right? Like,
if you did taxidermy, would you do like creative taxidermy?
Yes, I love
three mice having
dioramas.
a
So I
picnic?
love.
have I told
dioramas.
you I would love to learn taxidermy?
Oh, yes, you've told me
I've
multiple
told you
times.
That. Yeah.
We should have brought a dead mouse tonight.
Should have.
Man.
I know. I love diorama. I love. Is it dioramas? Dioramas? Whatever. I love them. I think they're fantastic.
She had dead birds in the freezer for like a year.
Really? Just the
was gonna-
I think a lot longer than that.
Because you were-
She was going to do
with that.
something with them.
Oh my gosh, that
What
is
was
so
that?
cool.
Dumb and Dumber when they have the dead bird.
Pretty bird.
Pretty bird.
Pretty bird. Oh man, so when did you finally get rid of the birds?
I think that bird had. I think
about the
there's
birds.
still one in the freezer.
Oh, maybe.
Really?
There is, yeah. It's a
Oh my
pheasant.
gosh.
Yeah, there's still a pheasant head in the freezer.
I thought that was just wings, but
No, there's a
whole
pheasant's
bird.
head in my freezer currently. And I will do something with it. I don't know what yet, but we'll figure it out.
So it's still in your freezer.
Yeah.
So when you get home, wow.
I might be throwing that out when we get home.
No, I've checked it. It's fine. It's perfect. She's beautiful. Or he. I don't know what it is. It's
You
beautiful.
just take it out and look at it once in a while.
It's my bird.
Let's go over here to Adrian. What about you? Any random skills or anything you would like to?
I would like to learn to levitate. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I don't
Best
know, just
answer ever.
everything. I just want to learn how to do everything.
Yeah, he does. Seriously. He's not kidding.
But you probably every time you want to learn something, you just go do it, don't you?
Right.
He does.
I do.
Literally.
I can tell. I can tell because you told us that.
No, but seriously. I've said this before. I would say that I think, but the truth is I know that that's why I love him.
Let's talk. I know.
Helicopter flying would be close to levitating.
Oh yeah, you
Could
can
be
fly
a
a
helicopter.
helicopter.
Let's talk Salt Lake City. Obviously, this is a Salt Lake City-based podcast, and I like to always find out, favorite things about Salt Lake City. Is there, a favorite area of town or a building or something that you would tell? Let's say somebody was going to be here for a day, and you're like, "Go check this out. You got to visit this." Anything that comes to mind?
That's hard.
I mean, I've had Temple Square. I've had the library. I've had,
I would tell them to get out. Get out.
Get it to the
Go down to
Yeah.
Zion or Moab or
Yeah,
Get out of
but
the
he's
city.
talking about Salt Lake, though. I
Well,
would
that's
say
fair
go-
enough. I've had people that say, go out, boating or something to a lake or,
I mean,
The Red Rocks aren't that far
Sure.
away, and they're
get out
gorgeous.
to Escalante. Go. I mean, we have. Where did I go this summer? What's the national park in Moab? What's it called?
Canyonlands.
I'm not a Moab expert.
Whatever. Anyway, that we have stuff that is insane.
Sure.
Like, it's like Mars. Like, we have access to things here that are crazy, beautiful, amazing, like mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
They're mind blowing.
That's one of the things Utah has that I don't think any other place in the States, at least, has.
It seriously blows my mind to think about things that I've been here for so long and just have started to see
Sure.
and wish that I had seen them before.
Earlier.
But Salt Lake in general, I don't have a specific place. I think Salt Lake's just beautiful and clean and lovely, and
Red Butte's nice.
Red Butte is beautiful. That is true. I've been into a lot of, I grew up in the South, and Salt Lake's so calm. There's this calmness. Don't you feel there's just this relaxed calmness to our city that I haven't found in other cities?
I like
Yeah.
it. What
every
about you?
time I go to another city, I'm like, this place is crazy.
Very overstimulating. We both get overstimulated very easily by large crowds or a lot going on. Him definitely more so than me, and I think that's Salt Lake's good. It's good. It's good. It's nice.
What about any favorite local eating spots? Do you have a place that you like to stuff your face?
Red Iguana,
Red Iguana, for sure.
Shanghai,
Shanghai.
the Noodle House.
Where the Noodle House?
Is it Lakai? Lakai.
Okay,
Noodle House.
Lakai, yeah.
Yep.
What's the new place? The Greek place? Spitz.
Spitz.
I love Spitz.
So good.
Yes.
They are top notch. I bring that up, because I have listeners that actually make lists. What recommendations, should we go at?
Those are probably all the restaurants we go to the most.
Anything in store? What do you have planned for 2017? Back to the jewelry. Anything that you want to share with the listeners while we kind of wrap this up today?
New stuff. We're gonna step outside of our comfort zones this year a little bit. I have a big idea for wall pieces.
Really?
So I want to still do jewelry because jewelry is important and we love it. I want to do some wall art, etched stuff, portals. I have portals on the brain.
That would be so cool.
Portals and doorways. I've been thinking about a lot lately.
There you go. Anything you want to add in on that, Adrian?
No. I think that we're probably going to focus more on wholesale as far as the jewelry goes. The festivals are fun and we'll still do those, but I think that we need to get serious about marketing and pushing the jewelry in a wholesale direction just to make it more like a real job.
Nobody wants those.
But you'll create new
Who
things
wants
too.
a real job, right?
Yeah, we'll definitely create. He'll come up with something new and exciting.
So how can people find you online? Do you have the jewelry on Instagram?
Yes.
Are you on Instagram?
And Instagram is the best place to go.
Run
yeah.
down the list of how people can
So
find out more about you
Instagram
and your
is
product.
at House of Tenebris. And there's a link to our website on there, www.houseoftenebris.com. We are on Facebook. I don't really update the House of Tenebris on Facebook that often, so I just wouldn't even go there.
So it sounds like Instagram.
Instagram.
You guys are on Etsy too.
We are on Etsy, and I do keep stuff on there because we do sell stuff on there. We prefer to sell off our own website.
Well, sure, you don't have to
Because
give
I
a
don't have to pay the
percentage.
fees, yeah.
Etsy
Oh
fees.
yeah.
Yeah.
it's the way to go. So go to the website. And again, I'll have all those links at iamsaltlake.com with this episode, all the links. Was there anything else we wanted to ask him, Krissie, before we let them go? Anything more? I know maybe there's other notes.
Will you give me jewelry? No. I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
A girl can try.
No, I've had a heck of a time chatting with you guys
this has been a
tonight.
blast. You guys are amazing.
I've had a great conversation, and thanks for coming and sharing a little bit about your story.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Many thanks to Adrian and Rachel from House of Tenebris for coming on this episode. That was a really cool conversation.
It was.
I am so glad you reached out to him, Krissie.
Aw, thanks. I am too.
I'm going to I give you control to book future people on the podcast.
Yes.
I think, was that your first person that you booked on the podcast?
Yeah.
No, you've done others.
Well, I think I may have suggested people, but I never really was like, I'm going to do this.
And
So-
I'm grateful for it.
Oh.
Because, I mean, doing all the work for this podcast.
Yeah, you
it
do a
gets
lot of work.
exhausting. It really does.
I got to step it up, man.
But go to iamsaltlake.com/255 for episode 255. It's going to send you to kind of about the show. We're going to have links up there that you can check out their jewelry, connect with them on Facebook, and I mean, check it out. I mean, they got stuff at just the other day we were at
Yeah.
Land of Salt.
That's what, Land of Salt.
Right downtown Salt Lake City, right over there on Pierpont.
Yep.
And
And
you saw their jewelry?
Their stuff is so noticeable. Like, when you see it, you're like, oh, that's House of Tenebris. And I was just like, hey,
I kind of want to start getting into jewelry.
it's
You
so
know,
fun.
like get myself a nice man ring or something.
Yeah, big old turquoise man ring. Yes.
You know, what was that episode of that 70s show or something like that when one of them gets a man ring and they were all jealous of it?
Oh my gosh, I need to see that.
It was so awesome. It was
I
just
need to
like,
thank you for introducing me to that 70s show, by the way.
yeah, can you believe this, Krissie? How that is one of the best shows ever.
It super is, and I had never watched it until you told me about to watch it.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad I could come into your life for something. I
Me
mean,
too.
Hey, but listen up.
Anyway.
We got a slew of iTunes reviews. And let me tell you something. I mean, honestly, iTunes reviews are so important for the podcast. They help the podcast out. I think a lot of people don't realize the importance of leaving a review on iTunes, what it does for the show, but it helps kind of boost the ratings.
Yeah.
So that way the podcast gets exposed to more people find out about the show, and the show grows.
Exactly.
So we got a slew of them this last week.
Yeah.
And it's
Which is so great.
yeah. Well,
People stepped up.
There was actually another one that just popped up here since I looked at it 5 minutes ago
Oh, for real?
from Ryan Prince.
Aw.
Yeah. So I'll read that one first. I'll read the first couple, and then we can I'll let you read it there.
All right. I'm literate.
So I just want to read these because I think
Yeah.
I think they're great, and I think it's great if people hear them. But so it says, Chris is a connector. This is from Ryan Prince. You guys know Ryan. He comes to a lot of the podcast episodes. He's a Patreon
He's our big
supporter.
Patreon supporter.
And he co-hosted the podcast for a while. But Chris has become one of my favorite people alive, the most approachable person I know. His show gives context to the inside tips to a thriving city. 5 stars. Share with everyone. That was nice.
Oh, that's really nice.
I love Ryan though. He's a great guy. He's one of those people. As I get older, I wish I had time to connect more with.
Yeah.
But life gets so exhausting.
I know. It is hard. When the older you get, the harder it is. But you do find those few people that when you connect, it's worth it.
Do you want to
He's
read the
definitely
next one from DMark86 possibly?
Absolutely. If you live in Salt Lake, this is a must listen. Chris has been hard at the podcast game for years now. His show is professional, informative, and entertaining. His interviews with Salt Lakers are the best around. I constantly find myself finishing episodes having learned something while laughing. Highly recommended. 5 stars.
I love it. I love it.
No, it's true.
The next one is the only podcast I listen to. Seriously. It's from Emma O. She writes, "It's that good."
That's all you need to say.
No, well,
That's actually an amazing review.
it really is because
Yeah.
it's the only podcast she listens to.
Yeah.
But it's so simple and it's so nice to hear what people have to say.
Yeah. I like this one.
Yeah, you read the next one there.
Now I want to visit Salt Lake, which is just awesome. Have you ever listened to a show about a city you've never been to, and after a few episodes you feel like you know the place? That is this show, and Salt Lake is that city.
That's from Mark Deal. He was actually, we met up at Podcast Movement. He was doing some of the panels out there. And when we went out to Chicago this past summer, connected with him, and now it looks like he's a listener
Which
of
is
I Am
awesome.
Salt Lake.
It's great.
I'm going to read the next one. This is from Wasted-Me. I don't know. I shouldn't
Wasted my money.
I wasted my money. There we go. Thank you for reading that. I don't read online slang. Best podcast ever. This guy is worth listening to. Plus, today is his birthday, so show some love and listen. You'll be so glad you did. Hey, another straight to the point.
Yeah, I like him.
What's the next one say there, Chrissy?
Next one is Get Listening, 5 stars from 5 or 9. A great show with interesting guests from a broad base of backgrounds. Whoa, that was alliteration there. Chris and Chrissy provoke conversation that is entertaining and thought-provoking. One of the podcasts I regularly look forward to listening to.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, 5 or 9.
Yeah,
thanks for giving me a run for my money trying to say broad base of backgrounds.
a little tongue twister there. You should get your kids to say that one later.
I should.
Then we got one more here. It says, this is from Aw Cutie. Every city should have a podcast like this. Insightful, fun, and interesting. This podcast has helped me see a whole different side of Salt Lake. So, I mean, that was cool. I mean, I would love to have that many iTunes reviews every week.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if we got that many every week, this
We'd be
podcast
swimming in
would
reviews.
jump. I mean, and then this last week, the I Am Salt Lake was in the top 200
Yeah,
in
thanks to you
society
guys.
in culture, which is impressive.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't really realize like how impressive that is with all of the podcasts out there. All of the, there's so many podcasts that you can get lost in.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact to get in the top 200, it's pretty amazing.
It's pretty awesome.
Pretty amazing.
And it's really thanks to the listeners.
But I want to give thanks to Jed's Barbershop again for sponsoring this episode of the podcast, for sponsoring the podcast in general.
Yeah.
Much love to Jed's Barbershop. You can get a haircut, a beard trim, straight razor shave. Right now they have 2 locations, 212 South, 700 East, and also in Sugar House, 2153 East, 2100 South. They're open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. Go to jedsbarbershop.com, find out more information. Like you were mentioning on the last episode, Chrissy, how you don't even need to make an appointment.
You don't.
To go to Jed's
You can just go
Barbershop.
in, grab a soda. They have a little fridge, grab a soda, sit down, relax.
Yeah, put your name on the list. You can call up in advance to put your name on the list. So, if you're one of those guys that hates making appointments, and I know there's a lot of guys like that out there that are just like, today I'm feeling like getting a haircut. Head on over to Jed's Barbershop. They got 2 locations with a 3rd location.
Yeah.
Coming really, really soon. We got a letter though. I want to read this letter.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have it pulled up there on your computer, Chrissy.
I don't.
I'll read it.
I'll let you read it.
This is a really good letter. This is from Michelle. She's from up in Ogden. She's one of our listeners. She's written in a handful of times. We've talked about her.
I love Michelle's letters.
I mean, she wrote sent us some cards here to our mailbox. But this letter was actually really cool to kind of show the connection of Salt Lake City and kind of show how everybody's connected. I'm going to read it here, though. It's, hi, Chris and Chrissy. I just wanted to tell you about a recent experience that started with I Am Salt Lake. A few years ago, I listened to both of the episodes featuring Fulk Hogan. I really enjoyed the music I heard and started to research them. When my fiance, now hubby, moved here from Las Vegas, we wanted to go see them. They were playing a show in Ogden at Funk and Dive. We had the night reserved, and for whatever reason, they rescheduled the show to the next week. That was the weekend we were going back to Las Vegas to get the rest of my hubby's stuff, so we had to miss them. Since then, we've tried several times to see them live, and something has always come up. Then this last weekend, I got an invite to Kamikazes in Ogden from an ex-coworker of my husband's. They were doing a birthday show for this friend, and Fulk Hogan was one of the 4 bands that were playing, along with another band I'd suggest you interview, the Beam Me Up Scotties. Side note to the side note, they do the intro music for the Geek Show podcast. I was thrilled. I live about 5 blocks from Kamikazes, My hubby was out of town, but I contacted some girlfriends and we decided to go. That was such a great decision. They were wonderful, and the story goes beyond that. After their set, I saw 2 of the band members at the bar. I'm always shy about approaching people, but I wanted to connect with them and also mention that I heard about them on I Am Salt Lake. I walked up to the bar and tapped one of them on the shoulder. He turned around and I told him how much I enjoyed the set and how I had been trying to see them for a while. He introduced himself, Moses, and the other guy he was with. I sadly can't remember his name now. We talked and I told him that I heard them on your podcast. He was thrilled and told me the story of your previous apartment and its connection with the band. It was so much fun talking with him. The conversations continued until the Beam Me Up Scotty started playing. Thank you so much for all you do. You really have made an incredible difference in my life, and I really love getting to know about where I've lived. I've had so many fun and cool experiences, including meeting the 2 of you, thanks to I Am Salt Lake. You really made a difference in my life. I'm going to start crying from that one, Krissie. No,
sweet.
It really is. Thank you so much, Michelle, for that letter.
Michelle, you're so amazing. I love hearing from you.
But it's so true.
Yeah.
The term small lake city is so incredibly true. I mean, because it is true. It's like they mentioned in here, our old apartment downtown, now one of the members from Folk Hogan lives there now, like she mentioned. I mean, it's just this small community.
It's really neat. Like,
people.
we actually can connect to people.
And I love hearing about this.
Yeah.
And the thing is I realized she didn't have to take time and email us. Mm-mm. But it's so nice to know that we're not just spitting into this microphone.
Yeah.
And nothing is coming back. I mean, it really is. It's really cool. So thank you a lot, Michelle. Feel free to email either Krissie or myself if you have any comments on the podcast like that. We'd love to.
We'd love to read it.
We'd love to read it on a future episode. But we have a survey up. We put a link. I mentioned this in the I Am Salt Lake community and online. I'm gonna push it out some more. But we have a link up on this episode's show notes. So if you go to iamsaltlake.com/255, there's going to be a link. I'm actually going to just make it iamsaltlake.com/survey. So I don't even, you could just go actually right there. This is going to take you to a survey. There's about 5 questions.
Super easy.
It's super easy. It's all anonymous. You don't even have to put your name in there. Well, there's no option to put your name in there because we don't really need to know who you are. But as we go into 2017 here, we'd love to hear what you have to say and maybe things that we could change with the podcast. So again, head on over to iamsaltlake.com/survey.
Yes, and please give us real feedback because we really, really want to make this better for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you really have something bad to say it.
Just say it. We can't find out who you are.
We might not take it as advice, but at the same time, we've gotten some pretty, some feedback that's kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
That is kind of interesting to hear. And we have no idea.
It's true. We don't know what you're thinking.
We don't know what you're thinking, but that's been a hell of an episode, Krissie.
It has been.
Yeah, I mean, again, House of Tenebris. Go
Beautiful
to their Facebook page. Let them know you heard them on I Am Salt Lake. Many thanks to Rachel and Adrian for coming on this show.
Thanks for chatting with us.
Yeah, thanks for chatting with us. Many thanks to Jed's Barbershop and Oleo Skin and Beard for sponsoring the podcast and for the support. Many thanks to our Patreon supporters. Many thanks to you guys, the listener. That is, I mean, honestly, without the listeners, the show would be non-existent.
Yep, we wouldn't be here.
But remember, connect with us on social media. What do we got, Krissie?
Well, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Everything, username I Am Salt Lake. And you can email us, Chris at I Am Salt Lake or Krissie at I Am Salt Lake. Just check us out at iamsaltlake.com.
Christmas is coming up, guys. You only got a little bit of time, depending on when you're listening to this. So get out. Support local, love the city you live in, and we'll catch you again next week.
Good night, Grammy.